Hello, welcome to Chapter 4. The philosophical content of this chapter will be value theory. And here's the procedure that we're going to be using going forward. We're going to take this one passage at a time, and as we go through each passage, I will occasionally ask you questions, and after some of these questions, I will say, pause the video and think. When I say that, what you should do is pause the video and think, and then start the video again once you have an answer to the question that I posed or once you completed the task that I asked you to complete. Please resist the temptation to just continue watching the video to see what I did, because I can promise you this: if you just watch me go through these arguments, analyzing them and evaluating them, it will do you no good. This really is one of those skills that you have to master by practicing it. So let's start. Let's take a look at the first passage of Chapter 4. I would like you to read it over and decide if it contains an argument or not. Is it trying to convince you of something or not? So pause the video and think. Okay, so what did you decide? I think that this passage does not contain an argument. It's not attempting to convince us of anything. What it is doing is accounting for what ethical relativism is and what cultural relativism is. And this knowledge will be useful as we continue through this chapter. It's really important to realize that cultural relativism is much stronger than the position that maybe we should not meddle in another culture, even though we acknowledge that they're doing something that we think is unethical, or that we should not invade a country to stop them from doing something that we think is unethical, because we know that meddling in a culture or invading a country can have unintended consequences that, or even very predictable consequences that are quite bad. That is a much weaker position than cultural relativism. Cultural relativism says, not only should we not try to meddle in another culture, not only should we not invade a country, we should not even judge what they are doing in our heart of hearts, because as soon as we look at another culture and say, gee, I think that what they're doing is unethical, I think that this particular cultural practice is unethical, what we are doing is we are appealing, presumably, to some ethical code that's above and beyond the practices and the moral code of that culture. But according to cultural relativism, there is no such, transcendent meta-cultural ethical code. If a culture says that a certain practice is ethical, it is ethical for that culture. It really is. And if a culture says that it's unethical, it is unethical for that culture. It really is. And it's just mistaken for us to think that another culture's practices or another culture's moral code could somehow be wrong. That's what cultural relativism says. Very good. So that's it for the first passage. I will catch you in the next video for passage 2.